Hello and welcome back to the Parc Fermé for podcast number 716. I am not Nico Rosberg. That's what I'm calling this podcast. Ooh, well, welcome back. It is number 716. Tonight, for your kind consideration, we share some news. I mean, that's just what we do. But before covering any of that news, you know I have to introduce my partner in podcast crime. You know her. You love her. I have to go all the way to the right coast of America, nestled in our nation's capital, where she's still laughing at those TikToks of the OWO Dog. She loves the OWO Dog, and who doesn't? You know her. You love her. It's the lovely, the redoubtable Grace! Grace, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Have you seen the OWO Dog?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. OWO Dog.
All right, so I'm not a Gen Z, but my daughter is. Both my daughters are, and so they're all about TikTok, right?
Right.
And so my youngest daughter says, "Oh, you got to see the OWO Dog. It's OWO Dog." And so she showed me a couple clips, and sure enough, on YouTube, there's a whole like compilation of the OWO Dog because when it barks, it makes the sound "ow, ow."
There's this cat video where the cat sounds like it says "wah-hi," but with like a southern drawl. That was my favorite. Like "wah-hi." It's
nice.
It sounds like. And so then, of course, I just showed it to everybody in my office. You know, back when I went to one of those, and just so that that's how I greeted everybody. They'd be like, "Hey, Grace, what's going? Wah-hi!" Like, like everybody has to watch this video so you at least understand why I keep going wah-hi.
It's nothing better than a cat
Pretty
from
good.
Baton Rouge, you know?
Yeah, right. Exactly what it says, though. All right, I'll have to look this up. I don't want to, this is why you have to have kids in your life so that we can stay.
I know.
Right? Like,
I know.
I didn't know. Okay.
I know, because, I'm so not that hip.
No, and as always, I realized, I'm at that age where they talk about, Drew Brees and Tom Brady, the old quarterbacks. Yeah, they're my age. I don't feel that old. Thanks.
Yeah.
I am too old to be a quarterback. That's for sure. But I'm not that old.
Man. I know. It's she showed me, and I guess the whole thing is, someone will do some sort of music related dancing or whatever, then everybody does their versions on it. And so she's got these things where she does her version on it, and I'm listening to the song and I'm like, okay, that song's a little below the belt. You're 16. Let's tone it down a little bit. Oh, Dad, everybody does this. Like, yeah, okay, all right.
I don't know. When I was how many songs did I listen to that I didn't know? I mean, I was in the 80s and the 90s. How many songs did we listen to that?
Right.
I remember recently. Go ahead.
Well, you were listening to Lucy and the Sky with Diamonds.
Yeah, well, I was relatively recently, I heard She's an Easy Lover by Phil Collins. I was like, this is terrible, Phil Collins. I'm so disappointed in you. Like, Velvet DeVoe's Poison. Terrible. I know every word to that song. They play it at Wizards games. I just keep going. Like, after they turn the music up, I'm still going. I know all the words to that song. That song is terrible.
It's pretty funny.
I was with a friend and her, teenage daughter, and she knows all the words to The Weeknd, I Can't Feel My Face, which is most likely about cocaine, I think. And I was like, this song's about cocaine. She's like, she doesn't know. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I know the words to Poison by Velvet DeVoe. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't know as a kid. You're just like, I don't know, Mom, it's this song.
Yeah. You're growing up, you put on Pink Floyd, it's got.
Yeah. It's fine.
The funny thing is, I was watching the football game and they were doing a promo for the Super Bowl, and they said, Joe, the halftime show with The Weeknd. And I'm like, yeah, it's The Weeknd. And my daughter was like, no, that's the artist. I said, that's a band? He goes, no, it's a dude. I said, the dude's name is The Weeknd.
Yeah. Yes.
She's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, good for him.
Again, I knew I was old when I found myself singing along in the grocery store. And I no longer knew who the musical guest was on Saturday Night Live. That was for sure. I'm like, The Weeknd's a good example of that, right? Like, who is this? Okay. So I'm happy if they do 12 episodes, I don't know how many episodes you do in a season. If I know like 4 of them, I feel still relevant. Like I've heard of this person,
Yeah, I know. It is fun when you get older, though. The thing you have to look forward to as you get older, for all you young listeners out there, is when you look back on all these songs you were growing up with and realizing you were singing the complete wrong lyrics for that. It's kind of like, it's like when you're our age and you got a little older and you actually figured out what those words are in Rocket Man by Elton John. You're like, Rocket Man,
my favorite, speaking of Elton John, my favorite missed lyric is "Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza." Always my favorite.
Hold me closer, Tony Danza.
That would be a much better lyric.
It is good. I like it.
There you go. Now you'll never be able to hear Tiny Dancer again without hearing "Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza."
Hold me closer, Tony. Oh,
I've ruined that song forever for you.
That's good.
But you're right. It'll be fine. Someday, 20 years from now, your daughters will listen to that song and they'll go, "What the hell did my parents let me listen to?" Again, I recently, as an adult, watched Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse, which I watched every Saturday with my brother. And I remember saying, "What was wrong with you that you let us watch this?" And my mom was like, "You were quiet for 30 minutes. I didn't care." Like, it seemed harmless enough. I'm like, this is craziness. Why did you let your 7-year-old daughter watch this?
I meant to do that.
Yeah, it's like you were fine.
Oh boy, you want to talk about some Formula One?
Can I tell you my lawn dart story first?
Yeah,
So
lawn darts. Those are great fun.
We were kids, so there was me and my brother and my 2 cousins, male and female, right? So we would play lawn darts.
Yeah, who didn't?
Right, so you put the 2 hula hoops on. The point is, right, is you're trying to throw the lawn dart into the hula hoop, right? It's like I don't know, any bocce ball. I was trying to think. It's kind of like bocce ball, the idea, right? Well, except the lawn darts, right, are now illegal for good reason. And so I pointed this out to my aunt, like, you let us play with these as kids, because of course we were lazy. So we would put 2 people at one hula hoop and 2 people the other hula hoop and throw them at each other while our parents watched. And my aunt's response was, well, they weren't illegal back then. We were throwing lawn darts at each other. I don't think the law had to tell you this was a bad idea.
So funny. See, I had 2 older brothers, so we had lawn darts, and we had them for about 20 minutes. And then my brothers thought it'd be a great idea to sharpen the actual darts and start throwing them and sticking them in trees and trying to kill squirrels with them. What the hell? I mean, we started out to play a game, and we have completely turned barbarian. We're going to storm Rome next. I mean, it was out of control.
Boys ruin everything like
that. It's life with 2 older brothers, They're just idiots in that sense.
Yes. I've learned there are many things. Again, it's like when it's the hibachi, when they throw the shrimp, they're like, you never catch it in your mouth. I'm like, I had an older brother. That's not happening. I'm going to catch it like this because it's coming at my face. I can't help it.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure your brother pulled my brother's technique. My mom put a plate of cookies, and he'd pick them all up and lick the bottoms of all of them, right?
Of course. I fed him dog biscuits once. That was my revenge.
Oh, that is good revenge.
He liked them. He thought they were tasted pretty good.
Yeah, human grade, apparently. They weren't milk bones, I take it.
No, they didn't kill him. He's still alive.
Good. Oh, boy. Speaking of dog bones, let's get into some news, shall we?
All right, let's do it.
All right. If you have been watching closely, you'll know that Renault Formula One made some big changes in the offseason. We talked about those changes. First of all, they're changing their name to Alpine F1. Mm-hmm. And Grace and I are just American enough to admit that at some point we're going to call it Alpine. Yeah. Because that's how we roll. And so Alpine, last week we talked about the first big news, which was they got rid of Cyril. Remember I played the clip?
I ain't gonna quit! All right, then you can forget it. Mm-hmm. You're out! Don't you do it!
Right?
With his boss.
That was Cyril and his boss, right? So I thought it was interesting because we also mentioned that there was the shock departure Davide Brivio from Suzuki MotoGP, and most all the news reputable news outlets had all said that he's going to Alpine F1. But I thought it was weird that they had the release the announcement about Cyril, but they didn't mention anything about backfilling the position of racing director. Well, this week, Saturday, Alpine F1 sent emails out, and I got one, and that said that basically they are formally announcing that Davide Brivio would be the new racing director for Alpine F1. But even within that press release, there weren't a lot of details. And I guess, maybe at this point it's just a mere formality, right? Because we reported last week that the news seemed to be sure that he was going to be joining Alpine. I just have to think that Alpine would have rather been on the top of that news narrative instead of behind it by a week. So I'm kind of curious, Grace, as to why the delay. Maybe you didn't want to step on the Cyril news with the Davide news. And maybe, a lot of times you say, okay, well, we showed Cyril to the curb and we moved the potted plant out of his office down to the new office, which is now the home of Davide. I get that. But waiting a week later is kind of interesting. It just seems like a long time, and I'm curious why that long of a delay.
So here's the thing. So Flip was playing Formula One 2020. And there's a classic race this week at Mexico. And so he's trying to figure out what car to play. And so he's, I think he was playing a 92 McLaren. And, he's trying to figure out what, downforce he needs, how much air in the tires so that it runs right at Mexico. And he goes, what is wrong with this car? Pause. And I go, well, it is a McLaren. So I think this is the same answer. ... It's still Renault, right? Like clearly. Like if this was Renault last year or, 2019 Renault, because 2020, everybody's going to say, oh, it's 2020, right? So we'll say, jump back in your Wayback Machine to 2019 Renault. Would this surprise you? No, it's par for the course. It's still Renault. This is exactly, these people haven't changed. It's still how they operate. So just like...
They changed the name, but the faces remain the same.
Why do we think they'd have any better communication between themselves, between Cyril, between Davide Brivio? Who knows, right? I'm like, they're probably just sliding out the name tag 5 seconds before he comes down the hall to get into his new office, right? Like, quick, change the name tag, right?
We take out Cyril, put in Davide,
Right. I mean...
It was all very French of them.
It wouldn't surprise me. It's not like this team has ever been on top of these kind of things. So... Which I think it has to be systemic, right? Like we see this. And so I could see, oh, well, is this that big of a deal? Well, no, but yes, right? Because what's below the water? What the rest of that iceberg must know, right? If this is the tip of the iceberg that we can see and you can't get this together, what does the rest of it look like? So...
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think the tough thing here, and I'm completely, my opinion, total unfounded speculation on my part, but I have to think that there's a part of it. The tough thing to me is that it's going to take time. It typically does. And I would say that it'll take a little bit of time for him to get cohesion in the team. And unfortunately, they've already spent a lot of time trying to get back up front with Cyril. So taking another 3 years is just going to be really painful or unacceptable to Renault. I posit this. Can Davide short circuit that learning curve and have an immediate impact? Or has Renault already been working on the major issues that it needed? And this leaves Davide really to simply punch it, Chewy, right? And maybe that's all he's got to do and get Alpine back up front. I'm not sure. I will say that the McLaren might be a good example of it didn't take Andreas very long to knock some heads, kick some butts, and get things going.
Right. This may be what they need.
And this may be what Davide is able to produce. So I'm not insinuating that it's going to take him another 3 years. Davide may come in and say, no, this goes there, right? And figure it all out.
Right. If you're going to fire somebody in the same presser, you need to put who you're hiring in his position, right? Like these things go together, right? So you're right. It may just be, it just takes the right person to push them in the right direction, and that maybe all the right people are there, they're just chasing their tail. I mean, that's the that's the hope, right? And I think you're
Right.
right. I think that is what it really took at McLaren, that they kind of were, I don't know, chasing their own tail or something, and it just took somebody to go, no, right, like you should be over there. Oh,
Right.
okay, good, got it. Okay, I can do this, right? Like if they have the talent, that may be what it takes. So
Yeah, and hopefully, in McLaren's case, bringing an outsider and not a retreaded F1 boss, right? So maybe Davide is a breath of fresh air. Hey, speaking of, I did see the pictures they released this past week, showing just a teaser of a livery. It was what they called their winter livery, whatever that is. It was mostly black, and on the engine cowling, it had sort of the French flag colors. Right? Fair enough.
yeah.
I got all excited because everybody knows that, I've been on my festering pie hole. Every time I start a podcast, I'm going on and on about how disappointed I am that Renault isn't running in French Racing Blue and how Formula One needs the color French Racing Blue back on the grid. And I stand by that. I'm hoping they do that, but they seem to be alluding that it'll be the French flag colors, which, fair enough. It's patriotic, and I get that too. But boy, I would love it for them to show up in French Racing Blue. I keep saying that.
Great.
I've been calling for that for years. So
Yeah, I
we'll
think,
see.
I think the winter livery was fine. This is like Mercedes. I don't care. Is this what's going to be in your car? I don't care. Right? Like, yay, you can put some different stickers on. I don't care. Show me what your car is going to look like. What is this? You're just trying to keep my interest in the off season. The off season's like 4 weeks long. Do other things, right? Like, now we're starting the end of March. That's like, it's already the middle of January. Like, go do things that are going to make your car ready for Bahrain, right? Like, I don't know. I assume that's why the teams do this kind of thing, right? Because it keeps us talking about them in the off season, which I guess helpful for us, right? It gives us something to talk about in the off season. But as a fan, I don't care. Just show me your final livery, because the thing is that your winter liveries always are going to look better than what you put on your car anyway, because you're going to do things with your winter livery that you don't do with your real car for any number of reasons. So
yeah. Well, and nowadays they don't have to build the damn thing to have a special one-off livery. They just do it in CAD and post JPEGs of it, right?
Yeah, go get a vinyl wrap. We're fine. There it is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. Now, for me, one of the best sort of special liveries of all time was when Red Bull ran that black and white livery. You know how car companies, when they're developing new models, they have that bizarre red or black and white with all the swirls all over, so you can't really get the body lines or anything like. And Red Bull, in a nod to that, they came out with that on their car. I thought it was hilarious.
Yes, I was like, well, those are always great too, because when they show up in the, it's similar to the college kid who spends all day to look like they just rolled out of bed in their pajamas, right? Who are you fooling? We know you spent all day rolling out in your pajamas. That's what those car photos always remind me of, because like, oh, what is that? Is that a Porsche? I don't know. It was leaked. It wasn't leaked. You freaking put it out on purpose. We all know it's a Porsche. Your cars all look the same. Who are you fooling? Your little blue, white, your little black and white stripes aren't fooling anybody, right?
Come on, man. It was leaked. We follow American politics. We know how this works.
I'm like, who are you killing? Who are you kidding here, right? Oh, it's a Corvette. Oh, I'm surprised. I would have never guessed it.
Gosh, with that shocking, glaring white and black swirled livery on there, I can't tell if it's a Corvette or a Prius.
I would have never known. I'm so surprised.
It's amazing.
Yes.
So the winter livery, mainly black with a splash of French tricolor on the engine cowling. So there you have it. We'll have to wait and see. But
so now we know what their real car will not look like.
Right. It won't be black and yellow.
Right.
Like Renault colors, their corporate colors, which I appreciated it, and really for the last, I'd say, few years, for me, the Renault color car is one of the best looking cars in the grid, and I loved this past year where if you saw it at the side, it was black and yellow. If you saw it at the front, it was all black. The way that they had painted that, it was really, really well done. And I appreciated that, but nothing would be better than having that French Racing Blue going down there.
Yeah, I do miss the Alfa Romeo looking like it has eyelashes.
Yeah, right.
When you're looking at the driver view, on the little squiggly bits on the front, make it look like it has eyelashes.
Yeah, that was nice too. Hey, speaking of McLaren, I saw this.
Yes.
This was interesting. If you were under the impression that fitting a new engine to your frozen regulation chassis was easy, you'd be wrong.
Yes.
And that's exactly what McLaren are in the middle of doing as we speak. Remember, they are moving to a Mercedes. McLaren boss Andreas Seidel said that the team are making good progress. Grace, here is what he said, quote, "It's obviously a big task switching to the Mercedes power unit for next year, but I have to say I'm very happy with the progress we're seeing there. I would say the car build is going along very well. The relationship together with the guys from Brixworth for Mercedes has started also on a very good basis. There's a very good dialogue and technical exchange, so I'm very happy with that." End quote. That's good. It's good news. But this is a team who should be used to that, because remember, they had to switch from Honda to Renault already, and they did that quickly, remember? So they had to do that. The challenge for them at this point is that they're having to spend development tokens, which are few and far between, on the chassis changes to bolt the Mercedes engine on the back. And I'm sure they would much rather have used those tokens on other things, but they're having to use them just to make the Mercedes switch. And Andreas said the power unit switch is obviously happening in parallel with aero development we have to do next year with the changes that we have to do, especially to the rear of the car to help Pirelli. I would say we're on target, no red lights there at the moment, but thanks to a lot of power unit changes also recently at McLaren, we have quite some experience also within the team to do that. How good we manage to do that, we will only see next year once we go testing. So that's a sort of update. And that's good. I mean, regardless of all the details and spending tokens and all that, look, the band, Grace, is back together.
Yeah. Yes, finally.
Back together. The band is back there. Now, whenever you make those slips in McLaren Mercedes, you are correct.
It's right. Finally.
Yes.
10 years later.
Hey, the last time this duo got together, they fought alongside each other. They had 78 wins between 1995 and 2014. Not a bad record.
Not an even spread either. I like how that sounds, though.
Yeah, I know. And it's a pretty darn good record. However, it also must be said that during those years, they didn't have a Mercedes works team to battle, right?
Right. That's true. That's true.
Bit of a game changer there.
Yes.
But it's good to know that things are going well. There's no red lights. Andres is happy with the progress so far. And like I said, the details of that's a structural component of the chassis and the way that engine fits and how it sits. And, there's a lot of details behind that.
Nothing else here to talk about. Everything's going fine.
Everything's going well.
Why would we question any of it? What?
Right.
It's fine.
Everything's fine.
We're good. There's nothing here to see.
So if you, where'd they finish? 4th in the Constructors' Championship.
Correct.
Let's just throw this down. Throw the gauntlet down, Grace. As a longtime McLaren fan, do you feel that moving to Mercedes with the improved chassis that they had last year, do you feel that they will retain 4th in the championship? Do you feel that they will overhaul Aston Martin Racing Point / Aston Martin for 3rd in the championship, or even go for some wins? What do you think?
I'm going to say they're going to be 3rd.
Okay. You think they're going to overtake Aston Martin and their little Mercedes show over there, their pink Mercedes.
Correct.
Turn green. Okay.
That's right. I think that, Ricciardo is going to be good for the team. I think he's going to slot right in. I think that this is going to be a good environment. I think this is really what Ricciardo has been looking for, right? He's going to get that support finally in a team that's going to make him successful. I think him and Lando will be fine together. And I think they're going to have, I find that I rate Vettel high. I don't know that I get the sense that most other people don't at this point, but it's still going to be growing pains. I still think that team has more growing pains to deal with than what McLaren will have to deal with. So that I think will give them the edge. And so I think McLaren will be third behind Mercedes and Red Bull. I just wanted to clarify that I don't know. For the love of all things Carlos Sainz, I do wish Ferrari would be higher up on the grid, but I don't. So
yeah,
I'm not going to move them up higher.
Be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Levi would like to join us for this conversation.
Oh, hey, Levi, what's going on, man?
Where did you come from? Hey, hi. He's leaving. All right, very good.
Nice.
I have to get a wireless headset. I say that every day at work.
One of my favorite phrases, that at night all cats are gray.
Yeah. Yes. And they are, as you just saw, all witches, because they just show up out of nowhere. I didn't even know he was in here. Who knew? There he is.
That's how cats work.
Yeah.
Yes. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm curious to see if they can overhaul Aston Martin / Racing
I think so.
Point.
But I think that'll be fun to watch, right? I think that's like, if I was the Drive to Survive director, right? That's the battle I'd want to watch. I want to see how that kind of rolls out, because I think there's an opportunity for a lot of success and a lot of missteps, right, for both of those teams. So
I still feel like, I wonder, it's I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I'd love to know from Daniel Ricciardo.
Dan, as we know him here personally.
Dan, because Dan and I are like this.
Dan, yeah.
I just pick up the phone. Hey, Dan.
What's up?
I would be curious. His leaving Renault because things weren't panning out. Now them canning Cyril. I'm just curious if his issues with Renault went beyond Cyril and went into the sort of whole opportunity and where he saw their development and, versus McLaren, because both teams are very much in this sort of, fourth, fifth place. And I'm kind of curious what he saw in McLaren as far as future opportunity versus Renault. And now that Cyril's gone and they're bringing in Davide, I wonder if there's, some reticence about. I'm sure there's not. I'm sure he's happy he's going to McLaren. But anyway,
I think.
I would have loved to see Dan at a works team going for wins. That's what I want.
Yes.
And there's a part of me that wishes he was still at Renault with Alonso, because that would be a daunting driver lineup. And if Davide could get on top of this where Cyril wasn't, and they could go for wins, it would be awesome.
Wow, Alonso and Danny Rick. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be fun.
I still think getting in Gasly with Alonso would be good too. So
yeah.
There's your French driver. So who knows? Let's see. Next up in the news, Williams. That's exactly right. There's Sir Frank Williams. Williams keeping the porch light on for you, Grace. It's like Tom Bodette.
Nice. That's right.
We'll keep the lights on for you.
Very nice.
It's very nice. The American private investment firm Doralton Capital says
Dorito,
Dorito says that it's going to keep that down-homey family feel to the team, despite having taken over ownership last week. Those are my words, not theirs.
Oh,
that wasn't in the press release.
That's what they said.
It's in the press release. We're keeping the down-homey family feel. Like, no, that's mine.
Okay, all right.
Now that is a press release you can get behind right there. That's, you were looking for colloquialism. There it is. This is. It's like, you instantly feel like you're sitting in a rocking chair with a corncob pipe and, talking about the old days with the family there.
That's right. Oh my goodness. All right.
So anyway, they took over the team last year, but they're not going to jettison that whole family
down-home
vibe, that down-homey feel, right? Okay. Now, who can blame wanting to retain that patina on the team? And because the team has won multiple titles under the hawk-like eye of Sir Frank Williams. Why would you jettison that panache for a sterile, no one knows who the heck you are feel, right? Well, wait a minute. That's kind of how they've been since they took over, to be honest.
But the thing is that it's what we talked about last week, I think, right? Like, this is your chance. You can be anything. This is like, I feel like it's like the after school version of new kid in a new high school, right? You get to reinvent yourself to be whatever you want, right? This is your chance. Be whatever you want. You don't have to. You don't even have to call yourself Williams at some point, right? Be who you want to be.
They're going to hang in there. They're Williams. They're going to keep that down-homey feel. Everything's going to go.
They're just going to slowly peel off a letter at a time, and then like 5 years from now, we'll be like Williams too.
It's going to be IAMs.
Yes. Or like it'll be just in Drive to Survive this last year where they just like computerly cut out Gasly's face and just dropped in Albon's, which was the weirdest thing. Like, stand like this, okay, and now we got your face perfectly where we need it. Like, oh, it was super creepy, but that's what you could do. Just like slowly just drop it in there, and we won't even notice.
Right. I think maybe just taking a letter each year away, and you end up with maybe an I, AM, and then you could put IM F1.
Yeah, I think that's already taken.
Why not? Yeah. Or you could do Will IM F1.
Yes. Levi, what's the matter? I'm
sorry. Levi's, he's on the Burj Khalifa
cat tree back there having a moment. I don't know.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's looking at your Monaco picture very closely. He's going, that's not how that went down. I was there. A Scary caught on fire.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a Scary. Levi.
I don't know. Maybe he'll go to sleep. I'm sorry. He's just having a moment.
Yeah. He's just getting into his zoomies, man.
Oh yeah, those are great. He's he's a teenager. He's having his growing pains, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't I know it with my dog? So what is a tad odd is that we still really haven't heard much from Dorilton's CEO about their new F1 team.
Or what his name is. Why are we still calling him Dorilton's CEO?
We can Google that and find it.
Of course, not the point. Huxley could do his job, but that's not the point, right? I should know who the face of your team is going to be.
Right. Not just like lurking in the back of the garage back there, but out front. Get out there. Start talking to the people.
We're literally all Lewis Hamilton on this one. Like, who? I've never heard of this person.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, this guy, if Lewis didn't know who the new owner of Williams is, that makes sense because I don't either.
Right?
But when confronted with a chance to show the world a kinder, gentler American interest in F1, Dorilton has chosen to allow the very capable Simon Roberts to do their talking for him. And here is what Simon Roberts, the new team boss, said, quote, "We've put together an investment plan that was focused on what do we need to do, what can we do, and what should we do to add performance to the team." Seems like three fair things. He said, quote, "It's 100% focused on adding performance. That does include making sure it's a great place to work. Given that we and Dorilton don't want to shift that lovely feel." It's all about the feels, Grace. They don't want to shift that lovely feel that exists within Williams, that kind of family spirit and friendliness we are investing. We'll be investing in some of the facilities in the factory. It's just simple stuff, but stuff that makes it better for people to work there. It's all about the feels, Grace. And while I'm just poking at them, really poking them in the eye a little bit here, let's look at the upside of this whole thing, shall we? I know I'm kind of giving them some shtick, but the reality is they are still a Formula One team. That's in itself really good. Second, they do have the remarkable George Russell, which is great. And they're investing in the team and facilities. So that's good. They've decided also to buy the famed Mercedes engine/gearbox combo in order to be more competitive. And they are fixing the leaks in the roof.
Right.
Literally. That's what they said. It's all the way down to, we're finally going to fix those leaks in the roof. It's like, I read that. It was like, leaks in the roof?
I thought you were going to say, well, they have, the very talented George Russell and Latifi's money, right? Like, right. Okay. Well, yes, let's fix the holes in the roof. That seems like a good place to start.
Good place to start.
Let's get a wind tunnel and, that isn't just some guy going, right? Or let's get, Yeah.
So they got George Russell on a 15-foot A-frame ladder out there with some, with some tools, and you know what he's up there doing with the roof?
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Seal.
It's exactly what he's doing. He's up there spraying the holes.
Levi is stuck. Hold on. Come
okay.
on, dude. This is going on.
This makes for riveting listening. But if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, it's hilarious.
Well, okay. So I have my desk, right? And so you have the slide out desk, right? For your keyboard tray. So he's coming in the side off of there, but he's stuck between the desk part and the keyboard tray like this, right? I can't get back out. He's just doing, I'm like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Oh my God, this is going to be the whole show. This is going to be the longest show in history because this dude is
no, you know what this is?
Having a moment.
All of these moments like this are really that sort of homey feel.
Yes, right.
Right? That's exactly what this is. We're operating like the new Doralton Williams here. That's hilarious. And now he's got your headset up.
It is all right. We will get through this. But just every time I go missing, it's because Levi is having. God, dude.
You're over there like,
help, I'm being repressed.
Well, I mean, at least we didn't show the video. Nobody knew that I was what I was doing over here. But now you can all just you still can't see, but
Yeah.
He gets up. He plays with his litter box, and now I'm gonna just have litter everywhere because he's just playing in the litter box. Come on, dude.
Oh boy.
It's a fun time. It's fun time.
It
It's
is.
my work calls too. That it's just okay, hold on a second. Something. What the hell were we talking about? I'm totally sorry, right? Other people, at least they have children, and so they also are all right, my child just walked in and asked me some questions that clearly could have waited 20 minutes, but now we're totally derailed.
That's right. It's time to play Wrangle the Cat. Tonight's contestant, Grace, with her cat, Levi. Can Grace wrangle Levi? Will he be able to control himself? Stay tuned.
There's no wrangling him, first of all, and he can't control himself. Oh my goodness!
A bit like Frank Williams himself. So, Cody. Also, where am I reading this? Now I'm so damn lost.
Anyway, so that you were reading about the things that they were
so
fix,
right? They're gonna fix so that's good. And as much as I can backhand Williams here, they do get the plot. I mean, continuity matters in situations like this. We've talked about this 1,000 times. I mean, having that continuity, you've got new owners come in, that is dramatic enough. You've got Claire and Sir Frank leaving. That's a dramatic impact after decades of Williams' leadership. These are big changes. And so keeping that continuity, keeping that family feel, keeping that culture intact at Williams, moving forward, making some very simple, pragmatic, and prudent changes going forward, all of that makes sense. And here is Williams, arguably the minnow on the grid, who gets the plot, and unfortunately, unfortunately, that matters. I mean, it's something that Ferrari seemed completely bereft of when they decided to storm the keep, fire all the executives, and prop up Chrysler stock by using Ferrari as the proverbial topwater lure for hungry fish. It was, it was really weird that Ferrari couldn't get that. And they always talk about their culture as well. And so that always makes it kind of weird. But Williams didn't do that. They're still operating on the fields, and they may have even a special foldable lawn chair for Claire if she wants to come in to a race or two. They said she's always welcome, that Claire.
That's nice.
Isn't that nice?
That's right.
Yeah. So there you go.
It would be nice if I was Claire. It would be much nicer to come back now.
Wouldn't it?
Right.
Wouldn't it? You could just come, unfold the lawn chair, sit in the garage, and when Latifi goes off, look at the crew and say, sucks to be you.
Good luck.
Yeah, who's paying for that front wing? Not me.
Hope you pack some extra push rods. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where's the hospitality tent? Where's the caviar?
Yeah. Right. I like her walking around with a martini and like she's Mrs. Howe off of Gilligan's Island or something. Right.
Exactly. She's Lovey. We're going to have to start calling Claire Lovey. That's awesome. She's like in there with her cigarette holder and her martini, and she's just enjoying it. I would just work it out if I was Claire, just to go to every race of Williams. And then that way you're still there. You still have all the fun, except you don't have the bills to pay for it.
That's the way to do it. It's like having kids, right? Like I always joke, like, my mom never wanted to go shopping until I got a job. And then it was like, what are you doing today? Let's go shopping. Oh, I see how it is when it's my money. Now you want to go do this. When it was your money, you're like, no, let's play board games.
Right. Let's play Balderdash.
Right.
No.
Let's go play with lawn darts. That's exactly what would happen with Claire. Like now I enjoyed Formula One. This is the most fun I've had in Formula One in my entire life.
She would probably love the sport now more than she ever has. I agree. So. Let's switch gears to Franz Tost's world.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy. You know
the party
that guy.
The party animal.
Who? Yes, the party animal himself. AlphaTauri's chance to have a rummage through the bin. That's what I'm calling this. You'll recall that Toro Rosso rebranded themselves as Alpha Damn Our Stuff's Expensive Tauri, right?
They're just so busy.
I know. Yeah, you thought we were joking about $100 key fob. You go check out some AlphaTauri stuff. This leather jacket that says AlphaTauri F1 on it, $1,800 or something. It's like,
yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I was like, okay.
According to Autosport, the team also will now enjoy Red Bull's 60% scale Formula One wind tunnel. So they're going to be doing their work at Red Bull's wind tunnel, which is a 60% scale instead of, I don't know what they were using before, 3% scale, 1/18 scale, blowing on a matchbox. I don't know what they were doing there. But anyway, that's what they're going to be taking. Now, that's going to be a big advantage for the designer of the 2022 car. And that's what the article said. And they're right. They're absolutely right because, the larger, the more to scale you can get that car, the more meaningful data you get off of it. And then you start to correlate that data. So data correlation between wind tunnel work and what they experience on track is important. And then if there's a miss in the correlation of that data, if they're slightly off, they can make those adjustments to the wind tunnel, and you're doing it on a much larger scale. So it's all really good. I think it's going to benefit AlphaTauri's car. The article said something else that I thought was interesting too. It stated this. The article said, quote, following the rebranding of Toro Rosso as AlphaTauri for 2020, Red Bull has identified the Faenza-based squad as being more of a sister team rather than as a B team as it had been previously, end quote. Now, the reason I find this interesting is because I searched several articles. I went back and I looked at several articles, and I even went back and looked at the actual press releases from Red Bull when they launched this and announced this rebranding. I didn't see any mention by Red Bull saying, AlphaTauri, now with this rebrand, they're going to be their own. It's going to be a sister team. They're going to bring in and really go for it. It was still understood they were the junior team and driver development team.
Right.
So I'm not saying I can't possibly have read all there is about this issue or all the team comments, but I didn't find anything just with a cursory search. So if any of you have a link to the statement where Red Bull has reclassified AlphaTauri's mission as a sister team and legit going for it, not a young driver development team, send me the link because I didn't see that. And that caught me off guard a little bit. I did see where they mentioned, well, we did really well last year with Gasly and we're for real and we're going to change the brand and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't see Red Bull saying, nope, they're officially a B team. So that was interesting. So
they're the sister team, the younger sister that gets all the hand-me-downs, including the wind tunnel, right?
Right.
And I think the answer is Pinewood Derby. They used to use Pinewood Derby cars, and now they're going to use a 60% scale Formula One wind tunnel.
Yeah, you can see fronts. No. You got to put the lead weight closer to the back.
Right. That's what makes it go fast.
Oh. No, you're overweight. You got to shave some lead off of that. No.
What is the difference between a B team and a sister team besides it makes one feel better if you're the B team / sister team?
Yeah, I think maybe emotionally it's
same
got that
thing.
down-homey feel if you're a sister team.
Yeah, right. Like
You
it
know?
does make it sound like, oh, this is my
Right.
sister team, as opposed to the place where I squander all the drivers that I have too many of and I don't have any place to put them, so I push them onto your team, right? Like, yeah, I just don't think, like, I guess if I was AlphaTauri, I'd be like, so now that we're your sister team, what exactly does that mean? And Christian Horner would be like, nothing's changed. Here, enjoy this wind tunnel. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So, fair enough. Look, I'm sure that's right. I just hadn't read that in stark words where Red Bull came out and said, we're rebranding it because now they're a sister team, not a B team, driver development junior team.
Whatever.
And I thought that was interesting. Now, we've certainly advocated that, but I think more importantly, we've really advocated that Red Bull should be the main team with seasoned veterans, not a testing bed for rookies. That's what AlphaTauri should be for. Or at least that's what it used to be if I missed the rebranding and remissioning or repurpose of the team that Autosport is alluding to. So, yeah.
That would require Red Bull to have a plan and to not go through drivers like, I don't know, toilet paper, right? Like,
right.
I don't know. That Red Bull and their drivers, it's always a problem.
It's always a problem.
It has been since day one, and it continues to be a problem for them. So, you're right. It should work that way. It should work as, like George Russell's at Williams because there's no space for Mercedes, and then we need him. We can bring him back up, right?
Right.
Yeah, but that's Red Bull's just like, we chewed through this guy. We need another guy. Bring him up from AlphaTauri.
Right.
So,
well, anyway, you'll recall also, here's the point that I'm getting to in a very circuitous route. You'll recall the Force India versus Lotus Racing lawsuit back in 2009.
How could I forget?
That also included Aerolab and Fondamentals. You remember that in Italy? That's because back then, if you're new to Formula One, yes, Force India at the time, Racing Point now, Force India at the time, sued Lotus Racing and Aerolab because Force India was testing at that wind tunnel just a few days before Lotus. And they said, quote, Force India believes that Lotus Racing, via its use of Aerolab and Fontech, I said Fondamentals, or Fontech, facilities and data, has utilized and benefited from the use of Force India F1 team's intellectual property, including components and tires exclusively licensed by Bridgestone to the Force India F1 team on its wind tunnel model design for the current Lotus T127 chassis without permission for the Force India Formula One team, end quote.
Okay.
What I'm suggesting here is now we see the benefits of actually testing at a common wind tunnel testing facility. And the good news here is that maybe some important chassis design stuff, from say Adrian Newey gets accidentally just dropped in the trash bin.
I'm going to leave this here.
Exactly.
Don't tell Christian Horner.
Don't tell. Right. I'm going to leave this here.
It's going to say on a Christian Horner, don't read this.
Right. So they're just going to leave that in the trash bin. And then Franz Toast shows up and says, oh, what's this? Oh, it's a design. It's an Adrian Newey design for a chassis. Imagine that.
Man, if only Ron Dennis had thought of that plan instead.
See? Man, I think so. All Franz Toast has to do is when he gets to their wind tunnel, be sure to have a little rummage around.
That's right.
He may find some Adrian Newey notes thrown in the bin, and you can pull them out.
Around.
And there is the full design. See? I think that's all Ron Dennis needed to do.
Nice, Ron.
That's right. Just leave your settings, right? Like whatever they were. Like,
right.
Well, these are the settings that those last guys used. That might be a helpful place to start.
Exactly. So there's the added benefit of working in the
So
tunnel.
did Force India win? I don't remember.
No.
I just remember this coming up. So maybe, I don't think they did. I think that would have stuck, right?
Yeah, I remember it coming up. I don't know if it was settled. You remember the group that owned the Lotus Racing? That was that 1M Malaysia
Yeah.
thing. And now, I mean, all these years later, they're like heavily in the news with corruption and all
Right.
that stuff. I mean, I just a month or two ago, I read something and it caught, I don't know if it was Financial Times, I think it was Wall Street Journal. And I saw that same group that was behind the Lotus Racing at the time was under all of this lawsuits and stuff, and I kind of quickly scanned the article, wondering if Tony Fernandez was roped into that lawsuit, but I didn't see his name, so don't
Wouldn't
know.
you if you were Aerolab? Like, I don't know how many places there are that do this, right? But I assume they're very few, right? So I would assume that if you have something that's specialized, this is probably not the only case where you have multiple Formula One teams using your facilities.
Right,
It would
right.
be in your best interest to keep their IP safe, right? Like,
No, for
it
sure.
doesn't do you any good to let the other team know, oh, right, by the way, they threw this out, you might want it, or, oh, well, they use these settings, so you might want to start from, like, that's not going to help. This kind of stuff happens all the time when you have something highly specialized. That has to be part of your brand, is to keep each other's, IPs,
Yeah, if you and I started an F1 team called Levi F1,
Yeah.
and we were going to go to a wind tunnel, I honestly, I would go there and have the wind tunnel people sign an NDA.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So
Yeah.
I just think that's the part I find very weird, that there's probably lots of teams that have to share any kind of different facilities of any sort, but
Yeah.
have to be within your best interest to not
Right.
spread that information around, right? Or you'll be out of business real soon. Real fast.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. All right, next up in the news, this is interesting. Bottas not going all Rosberg on Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri
Great.
Bottas says he has no interest in playing mental mind games with Lewis Hamilton like Nico Rosberg did. Quote, I think that the strength we have in the team is definitely that we can work as a team, said Bottas in an exclusive interview at Autosport. So I have to give a hat tip Autosport. We can for sure race hard, but we can also leave it there. Of course, along the way, there's been many people suggest I change to be a Nico Rosberg, but I'm not a Nico Rosberg. I much prefer to do the talking on track and race fair. Ooh, zing. I've also been able to get to know Lewis, and I know that there's no benefit of trying to play with his mind. I'm sure it would be annoying for him, but it would be wasting my energy, and I think he will be getting even more pissed off and drive faster. Know the fact that if we can work together, that's how the team is going to benefit in the end. So,
Right.
there you go. He's no Nico Rosberg. Hell, few are, let's be honest. But the entire time I was reading that quote, I kept hearing Yoda say, that is why you fail.
I was just waiting for the comment from Nico Rosberg. You
Yeah,
said I
right.
did what?
Yeah.
Because that's clearly implied, right? Like,
Right.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's implied for sure. They didn't race fair. And he, yeah, that
Yes.
was interesting. I don't know. I'm wondering, there's a lot of people thinking that he's got to get in Lewis's head because he's not beating him on track. I don't know. Maybe a few months on Dagobah would clear Valtteri's mind. Or is he too old to complete the training? There is another. I don't know. I'm not Nico Rosberg, Grace.
I mean,
I
maybe
prefer to
that's-
race hard and race fair.
I mean, maybe that's just like the not old guy version of Rubens Barrichello, right? Like, so, right? Because it's always the thing when you're a number two. Well, are you Rubens Barrichello, right? Like, nobody wants
Right.
to be Rubens Barrichello. So maybe being Nico Rosberg is just like, the newer version of that idea, right? That I also don't think it was that. I don't know. I just was
And
like,
how did Nico end up going down as F1's immortal antagonist?
I don't know. That's what
How
I'm
is
saying.
he not the protagonist? I mean, I guess it depends on what camp you're coming from.
Maybe. I just
Oh,
wish. I just
Yeah,
wanted
that
there to
doesn't.
be.
I don't know.
I just want to cut to Rosberg. What does he have to say?
I know. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it would be interesting. I'm sure.
There'll be a video, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I
right
mean,
on
in his new
Instagram.
supercar,
Right.
all
With
its
his
flames.
wife. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we'll know. We will know what Nico Rosberg has to say
Right,
about this. I
right.
mean, that will be for sure. But
It'd probably be him and his wife and his 2 kids, but with the smiley faces over the kids'
yeah,
faces.
I just think it must get tiresome though for Valtteri Bottas.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
how many times can you say,
I know.
I'm not a Rubens Barrichello, I'm not a number 2, I don't, But the thing is if you say, well, I'm out there racing really hard, then somebody's going to, well, Lewis still beats you. Or is he a better driver than you, right? Like, so.
Yeah, it's tough because you want to say, no, I'm not Rubens in this thing.
Yeah.
I'm not Rubens. And, that's okay. I'm my own man and I'm going out there. Okay, well, Lewis is still handing you your butt.
Yeah.
And you got to do something else because whatever you've done up until this point ain't working. All right. So that's why people say, hey, maybe you got to get in his head like Nico did. And you say, well, no, because we work really together as a team and that's how the team wins. And I'm thinking, dude, I don't know. I mean, obviously you're thinking one more season and that may be it for you, but I don't know.
That's not everybody's thing either, right? Like
it's not. It wouldn't be my thing. I mean,
right.
in defense of Valtteri, if I was there, it wouldn't be my thing either. I mean, if it took, ramping up the mind games and everything to, it's just
because the thing is that
it's not what I do.
People who are really good at the mind games, like a Valentino Rossi, it brings
Lewis is good at it.
Right, but it brings him joy as well. Like I get the sense that Valtteri Bottas could try to get in his head, but it would be work, right? Yeah. It would be more things that he'd have to do in a race weekend, like make sure seat fits, make sure you bring balaclava, make sure you get into Lewis's head, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? If it's not just something that naturally gets you going, then it's not going to work, right?
Yeah, it's not Valtteri's personality.
It doesn't strike me as something that he has ever really wanted to do. So why would he do it to Lewis? It's just not his cup of tea.
Yeah, and in defense of Nico, that's what it took to win. But even he retired and said, "There's no way I was going to go to that place again." That took everything out of me, and I wasn't going to be that person again. And if that's what it took to keep winning, I'm not interested.
I'm done. Right. Yeah. So I think that, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just, he's literally must be asked that question in every interview, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So he's just
how are you going to beat Lewis?
Yeah.
I'm not. All right. That's just, he's a 7-time world champion. I'm not.
Yeah.
All right. Fine. Right.
He's LeBron James. What do you want?
Right. And
tried really hard.
Time is going, I will. Just put me in the car, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of George Russell, nice segue to Mercedes. Yes. More Toto Wolff. Woo-hoo. Get down. All right. So George Russell must iron out mistakes. And I found this interesting, if not a little disappointing. Another article over at Autosport says that George Russell did well setting it for Lewis Hamilton, but according to Mercedes boss Toto Wolff, he must iron out his mistakes like Imola. And here's what Toto said. Speaking to Autosport about Russell's progress, Wolff said, quote, winning Formula One championships is about making the least amount of mistakes, and that only comes with routine and experience. Mercedes expects these kinds of sustainable performance levels, and that's why you need to give young drivers time, because as exuberant as they may be perceived after the performance that we've seen at Sakir for George, at the same time, young drivers will be criticized and criticized quickly when they make mistakes, such as a high-pressure environment like a top team. That's why making experiences like at Imola and learning from that is very important to form a driver that can perform at a sustained high level, end quote. Now, I was thinking, seriously, come on now. Yeah. Come on. I know he spun behind the safety car, and I get it. But, Lewis doesn't make too many mistakes these days, but he's a 7-time champion for crying out loud. All right. He did chuck the title away by running wide in China those years ago when he was George's age. He's hit Albon twice in 2 years and Rosberg a few times and ran into the back of Kimi Räikkönen into the pit lane and many, many other incidents that I could point out that Lewis has done, even when he was older and, quote, wiser than George Russell.
Right.
So I think taking the stuffing out of George because he spun behind the safety car is
This is classic Toto Wolff. Like, why? This is the same Toto Wolff who talks about who sandbags at every testing. Well, he always is the kid that's like, I don't know. I think I did poorly on the test. Oh, you got an A+. You got them all right. Screw you, Toto Wolff, right? Like, this is just another one of his, like, lame attempts to, like, trick us. Well, he can't say, George Russell's amazing. Lewis Hamilton, we aren't signing you, right? Like, I think that he has to somehow downplay George. I mean, I think we all expected George to do well. Did we expect him to do that well? I think everybody was shocked by that. I mean, I guess I expected him on a scale of 1 to 10. I expected an 8. He did pretty good at 9.5, 10, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean, he really like had no problems. And so I just think that this is Toto Wolff is a man trying to say, like, we like that young huckabuck over there, but not too much, right?
Yeah.
And it just sounds like his testing, but well, I don't know. Maybe this will be the year that Mercedes has some problems. It's never the year Mercedes has problems. You think we have no memory? We watch this every year.
Yeah, I don't know George, but okay, yeah, that was a ham-fisted move, spinning, but he's not the first person to spin behind a safety car at all. I mean, Nick Heidfeld took the damn door off of the safety car, for crying out loud. So, he's not the first guy. Botus has made his fair share of gaffes when he was at Williams and Mercedes. So I think this is a very high bar to put on George, despite his ham-fisted spin. And I think it's a little much. I mean, he got into Lewis's car, but that doesn't mean that that Lewis Hamilton is the measuring stick. He's a 7-time champ. The question most fans are bringing up is Lewis. Okay, that's a different level. All right. And nobody was holding George up to that measuring stick, but they were holding up to Botus, and you re-signed Botus.
Seeing that previous quote, right? Like, that's what's much more interesting, right?
Exactly.
I think that,
yeah.
George better be nervous.
Anyway, I didn't set out to be an apologist for George, but I find that a little harsh.
No, I think that's just classic Toto Wolff trying to like poorly create. He's like the guy that gives a presentation and tells jokes. Stop telling jokes. Only tell jokes if you're good at telling jokes. If you're not, then stop trying to be a comedian.
Yeah. I mean, Charles Leclerc has had some ham-fisted moves at Ferrari, and Ferrari still have him in the main team. He's not down in Sauber or Haas.
No.
And he's right there with George. So anyway.
That's right.
Speaking of Leclerc, he tested positive for COVID. He said, "Hello, guys. I hope you're all staying safe. I want to let you know that I've tested positive for COVID-19. I'm regularly checked according to the team's protocols. Unfortunately, I learned that I've been in contact with a positive case and immediately went into self-isolation, notifying anyone I had contact with. Subsequent test I took has come back positive. I'm feeling okay and have mild symptoms. I will remain in isolation in my home in Monaco I don't know. That's
compliance. That must be compliance.
I think that's supposed to be compliance. Yeah,
it's not
with
what
the
that
regulations.
word says, but it should
no,
be
and
compliance.
I didn't type that. So regulations set local health authorities. Yes, stay safe and take care. End quote. Yeah. He did take a holiday earlier this month in Dubai with his girlfriend, and is the 5th driver to have tested positive with COVID. For those of you keeping score at home, that's Lewis, Charles, Lance, Sergio, and Lando. Are the 5 drivers that have. Ferrari said, again, mild symptoms, self-isolating in Monaco, and he's doing all right. So it's
a tough life.
It sure is.
I'm self-isolating in Monaco.
Yeah.
I get it, that's his home, but it just to read that statement,
if you're gonna get COVID,
get it in Monaco.
Self-isolating in Monaco on the French Riviera, it's kind of like, I'm sorry. Could you bring me another orange juice? Thank you.
They say fresh air is nice for you, right? Like, I don't know. Like, get out of here.
Let's step out on the veranda where we have a view of the Prince's Palace.
Yes, it's definitely not New Jersey, right? Like, oh.
Yeah, right. Stepping out in my backyard where all the dog poop is now.
I'm just, the highlight of my day today was taking like an hour walk around the neighborhood on a different road than we've ever been on before. Like, whoa, look at that.
Nice.
We went somewhere new today.
Yay.
Isolating in Monaco. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, who knew?
Just playing video games, right? That's all yeah, you could just be on this little sim all day. That's not too bad.
Well, you might be. All right.
But get well, Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, get well. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're poking fun at you, but of course we. I don't want anybody to have COVID and get better.
No. Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's see. And finally, let's do. Hey, it's time for this week's fun/random fact, the slashies. That's right. I've dug up some stupid random fun fact about F1 that I hope you enjoy. All right. Are you ready for this week's?
I'm going to enjoy it. I'm ready.
All right.
I'm enjoying it already.
I'm going to throw this out as like a little quiz. I'm going to give it a little time. I know you know the answer, and I know the answer.
Only
but
because you put it in the notes. I didn't know this answer.
Right. So I'm going to throw this out. I'm going to leave a little air so for those of you who are commuting or driving to work or listening, you can have a think and see if you can answer it before I do. Okay, so here we go. If I did this as a fun quiz, I would say, which driver's first and last victory in F1 also happened to be the first and last victory for which team?
This is an amazing bit of trivia. I would have.
Now, let me give everyone a little hint. It was this driver's first win and his last win in Formula One. It also happened to be this team's first win and last win in Formula One. And my friend Steve Matchett would know who it is.
But he wasn't at the team. These are two separate, right? Like it just.
He was at one, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that would be really crazy if he was.
Yeah, wouldn't it be?
At
Yeah,
that
exactly.
First and that last, and it was at the same team, right? Like that would be really crazy. But that's definitely not what happened here.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not such an anorak on the history. I can't remember every car.
No, I was just thinking that somebody needs to make. I'm sure this exists. It must exist. That I'm just buying people more time. But that, I need something that is all the teams that become a team. Like we talk about like the Brackley-based team. Well, that was Jaguar, and then they became Red Bull. And like, Jordan became, we got this, eventually became Racing Point, which is now Aston Martin. Like, I feel like there should be a table of what all these teams that become other teams.
Right.
Keep them all straight.
Right. I agree. All right, here's the answer, folks. The answer, which driver is it? Gerhard Berger. His first win was Mexico, 1986. His last win was Germany, 1997. That's the time frame we're looking at. So which team was their first win in Mexico in 86 and their last win in Germany in 1997? That would be Steve Matchett's old team, Benetton.
There you go.
How about that?
That was pretty
so
good.
For all of you at home that got that, congratulations.
That's amazing.
A little fun fact. That's kind of an interesting fact. So a nod to my pal Steve.
Especially if you got both of those. That's some good knowledge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's actually you got the driver and the team. Yeah, exactly. It's good. All right. Let's see. What's next? Let's do some mailbag.
You've got mail.
Mr. Drury asks us, he says, when a car goes in the gravel, do you know if they ever start in second gear? Or do they always have a tendency to start in first gear and pin it? Seems like that's what they do every time. Remembering the start last year in the heavily wet track, the cars that started in second gear had the better start and increased traction. It seems the same strategy might work. I don't know. And I think it's a great point. I have not went back or gone back and looked at the onboards when they're in the gravel trap to see which gear they're selected. And I'm sure someone enterprising could find that real quick and answer that. I think it's a great question. I'm sure that they know the torque levels of first gear, second gear, and they're in the gravel. And I'm sure they're thinking if the gravel's really deep, or if it's relatively shallow, then first gear. There's a lot of things that are probably going through their mind. And they're desperately trying to get back out on the track as fast as humanly possible. So it's just like, quick, put it in first gear and let's go. But it's a great point. If you took a deep breath, waited patiently, put less torque on those rear wheels and creeped out, maybe it would work. I'm sure there's been lots of in-team discussions about that. And I'm sure that, some studies, I'm sure in Formula One have shown that if you put it in first and pin it
and mash it,
it blows all that gravel out of there quickly and you go through because, those tires, they spin around at quite a clip. At full speed of Formula One, a tire... What did I read? It goes like over 50 revolutions a second or something insane like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
I will say, was it Bahrain somewhere that the Like, didn't Max Verstappen end up in the gravel because he didn't realize it was gravel? He thought it was still tarmac. Like, I think this should be the new hazard. This is what Bernie Ecclestone should have come up with. Like, let's make all the runoff look the same, and some of it's gravel and some of it's tarmac.
Right. Well,
that makes this a lot more fun when you fall off the track now, doesn't it?
Right.
Maybe
you could go back like the old timers, just paint trees by the white lines. Hey, when I was driving, there was runoff. It was just trees there. Okay, paint some trees. Paint some paper mache trees.
No, right. It would have to be like your kids, like, second grade, presentation of some Alice in Wonderland or something, like little cardboard trees, right? Like that is what you would need. But
or just the carnage, you can make it out of the same styrofoam as the DRS signs. And put them there, and then when they go and hit the trees, they just shatter into a million pieces.
That would be great. I do love it when they drive through the styrofoam. That's always
good.
Feels good here, but so I think we should just paint all the runoff the same color and just randomly some of it's gravel. And then I think if you're somebody like Michael Schumacher, who always that was one of the things, right? Like, he always knew where the like the off roads where they led, and so that was one of the ways he was able to get on track faster, because he knew if he went off road here, if he just went this way, he could get on the track faster, right? He was able to correct any mistake he had falling off the island.
I like it.
This would be great too. If you were lucky enough or had the memory for it that you could remember that's gravel, that's tarmac, kudos to you. If not, you're Max Verstappen and you end up in the gravel when you thought it was tarmac.
Right. I like painting everything the same. Oftentimes you think of Paul Ricard is painted with all those lines. It's so confusing. I'm surprised they don't have warnings for epileptic seizures when people watch that race. But then again, on the flip side, you could just paint everything gray. Everything gray. Track, runoff, grass, everything, seats, everything just gray. It'd be confusing as hell.
Right. Yeah, I think so. And then
where's the track limit? I don't know. I'm going over sausage curves.
I beached it. I don't know.
I beached it. I didn't know I was in the gravel.
Then it becomes like rally car, right? Like 30 wide, don't cut, right? Like
right.
Overhill. Yeah. I think that's what you'd have to have, right? Because you'd have no visual markers.
Right.
You tell you, right?
I like it. I like
this combination of Formula One becoming rally cars. This would be fun.
I think it would be fun. All right. Hey, that does it for the podcast. In the meantime, stop by the website, theparcfermé.com. Share your opinion. Just do it with decorum and civility. Huge thank you to those of you, a few of you came out to Patreon to help us, and we really appreciate it. And, it's tough times, and I understand, and anything that new patrons or existing patrons hanging in there with us, can't thank you enough, because we couldn't and wouldn't do this podcast without you guys. So really grateful for those of you that some of the existing patrons that increased their donation amount per month, and some that signed up. And if you like the podcast and you would like to support us, it'd be much appreciated for sure. So thanks for that. If you like the podcast, you can go to iTunes, give us a good rating, give us a little love over there. We always appreciate that. And gosh, I guess we need to send some kudos out to Paul and everyone at Heart of Racing, Aston Martin, for the upcoming Daytona 24. Yeah. Paul, I know, is busy getting ready for that race, and that should be fun. So be looking for the number 23 team. That's who you should be cheering for at the 24. And so anyway, until next week, when we come back to do this all over again, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long, Grace.
See you next week.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.